On the screen before you see Roger Moore. Good to see Roger Moore has now got an audience. His audience appears to have quadrupled. He knows his stuff, does Roger. Now, I explained something in a previous video about the membership of Reform, how they are the Dennis the Menace fan club. That's what I called them. And I thought, well, does everyone remember what the Dennis the Menace fan club is? Well, you send off some money or a cheque they want, and you wait 28 days and you get a wallet with a card in it that says you're a member of the fan club, and you get 2 badges. And that's it. You remember the fan club. But nothing ever happens. You don't get, you're not involved in anything. It's got no social circles. It's just, you've got the badge and you can wear the badge. And that's what it is to be a member of the Reform Party. You're not in a political party. You are in the Dennis the Menace fan club. You're just paying a little bit more for subscriptions. Now, my boy, who I champion, this fella, I've been onto this guy for years. He's been, let's say, he's been someone I've followed as being, yeah, this guy gets it. One of the few people I've rooted for. And it's like, yeah, well, a quality analyst, right? High quality political analyst, Roger. I agree with him in this video as to what, when he says he knows what Reform are doing. It's like, he's like, I don't agree with it, but this is what they're doing. And it's a bit basic, but he makes an exceptionally good point here about the state of Reform. And I will let him make it, because say Roger is very good. This is, he points here to the reason I call the Reform members the Dennis the Menace fan club.
I think what's gone on there, and I agree with you, I've got problems with Reform in my backyard. In my own hometown, I won't have anything to do with them. And I try and stay away from it because I know I don't want to get involved in some sort of bickering. And I look to Labour, I look to the Conservatives, and I know people are politically homeless and they're desperately hoping that Reform is the answer to their prayers. I know many of you are. All I'll say is it should be democratic. And now let me explain. Let me show this up. Let me quickly show this so you understand what we mean by democratic at a local level. We have branches. So a political party has branches. And the branches elect a chairman, who then has members. And between them, they select the candidates. And they also inform policy. That's effectively what a democratic party looks like.
Right, so that's a good simple explanation. So, okay, let's take it from, you want to start a new political party, you are Reform, what do? You put it out there that you start a new political party, you encourage people to join mailing lists or else join, and then a meeting, something like this should have been done years ago. A meeting, it's probably been done for UKIP 20 times, but out the window with that. Them guys can't keep the dicks in the trousers. Like the cut of some trollop's jib and end up like all having sex with a Natasha Bolter scandal. Wide open to infiltration. Well, if you create this, right, you've got kind of you've got a conflict. You've got a conflict that will bring a result. You're all joining the party, so you can, because we can all agree that the reform, in essence, key points or else constitution, the things they claimed to stand for before, you join if you agreed with those things, and they're pretty agreeable. So you've got a lot of people who've agreed to these principles of this party. So you call a local meeting, and at that local meeting, you bring your mates with you, don't you? And other people turn up, and you have a conversation about who are we going to elect as chairman. And it's not actually a big deal to be chairman. You've just got a certain level of responsibility. We're making you a main point of contact. You elect a local chairman who isn't in essence the leader, he's the chairman. And then you form a committee. And what do you do on this committee? It's not difficult to do this. This is not difficult to arrange. First of all, someone big like Farage puts it out. Everybody join. And part of the political is to have names and addresses. And then it'd be a matter of, right, put some money into one of these persons' pockets to arrange a meeting for everyone who's paid us money to join. Not a difficult thing to do. But that's how a party's supposed to work. And it would work. Because it's just a matter of getting the members engaged. And most people who join a political party hope to be engaged in something. They'd like to be asked to come along. They'd like to be able to talk to people who they could potentially work with. They want to network. So they'll turn up because they want to network. And it's like, arrange it for in a really big pub, right? On something like a Wednesday night where they'll play ball with you when it's a quiet night. And you have your first meeting, and then you call your next meeting, and all that really happens is you just need that list of names. Would you like to engage? You appoint a chairman, he becomes the point of contact, and then you build a committee, and then you select a candidate. And between you, right, with your own research, your own experience, you bring it all to the party. And that's how you inform policy. So you've got a smart party because you've got, say, 10 people on a committee that all bring something to the party, and it's kind of between you, aside from biases, right? You'll probably know everything you need to know between you to do a job. Within that local unit, you'll have enough know-how to be able to navigate the world of politics. Because reform is always going to attract people who've left a different party because they were disenfranchised. It's where they all are. It's where you expect to find them. So you will find in and amongst these group of people who are already experienced political operators, and their knowledge would be absolutely vital. Because if you've got new people going into government, you need people who know the story so far. Right? So as to okay, who would be, if you were forming a new political party based on the precepts of reform in Oldham, who would you want your number one guy to be? Who would you want to be your main organiser and or else your chairman? Roger Moore. He's outstanding. He's a great organiser of events, distributor of leaflets. He's the guy. He'll turn up and talk to people. Right? So he's your guy. You've already got the guy you need. This guy. A reform in Oldham, anything like friendly with Roger Moore? Absolutely not. because the local Reform are a bunch of far right guys who wear the uniform of Reform. And the Reform look at their situation and say, hey, these guys won't win us anything. These guys will turn people off, and it's like, not if the membership swells and people engage. No, they won't dominate if people engage them. So to my mind, a fear of the far right in Reform, them looking at their structure now and saying, oh no, we've got loads of far right people. Ignores the fact that they've got loads of people who aren't far right, and if they were to actually build a cohesive branch network, those far right elements would have people to bounce off, wouldn't they? You could tie them to certain right-minded tactics and way of seeing things, by way of they can be managed. You're always going to get them. You've got to have a big tent in politics, otherwise you're going to have endless civil war. If you're going to beat something like the Labour Party, you've got to be cohesive. And that doesn't mean you all have to toe the line. It doesn't mean that. It's like, improve yourself. It's like there's a way of winning here without invoking things like Islamophobia, without making certain groups of people targets. There's a way of doing it without it trumps on it. Just treat everyone the same. It's like give your party a notion of, well, this is true equality. We judge everyone here based on merit. And actually do that in your party. Create a merit-based party as to say, well, why's he got a position? It's like, go and have a chat with him. Ask him why. It's there. It's like, this does itself because of the amount of talent that's homeless. Talent. Proper talent. People who know all kinds of things. So like, I am pretty useful on my own. But if you put me in a group of people who don't know what I know, right? I can help them fill in blanks. Put things together so I can help people improve. With what? Answers to questions, for God's sake. Testing you. People who engaged in politics, it's pretty good if you know how to win a debate. How about you lose one against me and I'll teach you? How about we do our political infighting amongst ourselves where no one gets hurt? How about we all learn together? How about we all handle each other's objections behind closed doors in our meetings, and let our meetings, fucking hell, our meetings can get violent if you like. We're sorted out like men and adults. Like, why be so afraid? If your membership numbers have swelled, they ain't just swelled with far-right agitators and infiltrators. They've swelled with all kinds of people, and it's like, you can allow for all kinds of people. It's the only way the job gets done. So you build this kind of structure in every seat. And it's not that hard to do because of the number of people who've joined your party and sent you their contact details. Why not mail shot them all to get them to turn up and then start this process off? Well, the normal way of doing it hasn't been done. And Roger, as I like to call him, because he's going to be a household name very soon, he explains exactly how it works.
Members select positions, select candidates, inform policy. It's as simple as that. What we've got, and I can only talk about it from my own experience, so, you know, I'm not talking about it, I'm not being negative, I'm just being factual. What we had in Oldham was someone from Reform HQ appointed an interim chairman, who then appointed his mates to become the board, the branch, key positions. They're now looking for candidates, and you've got the members here, sat here, not able to do anything. They're looking for candidates.
The Dennis the Menace fan club. That's what I've been trying to say. I'll let him continue.
Where they vet and approve candidates not by the members voting of the branches, but by the chairman, the interim chairman, deciding who can go forward, and vetted externally by HQ somewhere. This isn't how a political party works, or should work. And Farage knows this. So the question is, why? The question is why? And for me, I think he's still burnt by UKIP. And in the end, he lost control, and the party did get taken over by a right-wing element. And the branches, and those who are active, are, of the four groups, they're not the Conservatives who are coming and joining the branches. They're not those who never vote, those who don't vote, that, you know, you struggle to get them to vote, never mind come and take up positions in branches and become members. Some of them are the marginalised white working class historical Labour voters, but a lot of them who are coming forward, in my experience, is those with those right-wing views.
Yep. Wide open to infiltration. So the only way of defeating that is for there to be far more let's say moderate members. I call myself a moderate, maybe. I'll be the moderate. Few more guys who are more moderate, but you know, a little harder to annoy and anger. Need more of them. Need more of them to engage. That nullifies the right-wing elements of the pie. It waters down any influence they might have. Basically, it gives you an opportunity to make the case to get them voted down. They still be, because you can't ignore people like that. They come along, and what they come along with is usually ammunition that's good ammo. Far right people these days all talk about the poor children. Can't be ignored. The incompetence of government has given them that, and they've decided to run with it. And to some degree, it's like, well, at least someone's running with it. It's like, if there is any victory from the grooming gangs things, is that people are a lot more vigilant, and people pay a lot more attention to what the councils are up to. That's a victory. Although all you've done is created watchdogs like my good self. And you've not actually, this has never manifested itself in, let's vote these dicks out, because it's not the council that you need to get sacked. It's like everybody who works for child services for the council needs the job. They're all dreamers, incompetent. Voting out the non-engaging political leaders of the council doesn't fix this. But it does put the checks and the checks and the checks and balances that are supposed to exist for how your local authorities conduct themselves is the council. It shouldn't be a cheerlead. It shouldn't be a cheerleading hand-in-hand cooperation. It should be a conflict. It should be the council holding the council to account. The council holding the state, the local state, to account. And that'll take a lot longer. That would take a lot longer to pull off than in this country. It take a lot longer to pull off than actually getting councillors elected. Because what is a councillor? Local version of an MP. What's an MP? Pretty much someone who's got the right to write anyone a letter and get a fucking reply. That's what a councillor and MP is. And also they've got the right to ask questions in either the council chamber or the parliament. That's what an MP is. Other than that, no power. If you want to have power in a town, you have to have the cabinet positions. In any town or local authority, the cabinet hold all the power. Everyone else just gets the opportunity to ask questions. So it's like in all these places, reform are a very, very long way from even really understanding what it is to be a fucking councillor. And they'll be wanting to inject a load of, I don't know, people who are likely not aware of the ins and outs of what the job entails. Because you don't just get to write letters and ask questions for yourself. You have to do it for all your constituents as well. You are their servant. That's what an MP is. A learned person who has the right to ask questions, whether they be his questions or the questions of his constituents. And that's what one is. We are still a long way from heaving down the institutions of the state using the politics. We're a long way away from it. We just can't have some clever dick come along run for president. There are plenty of people who might think that we can, but we cannot. It will not work. If you're going to change this country, you've got to do one of two things. You've got to build a new political opposition that's competent enough to rule. I don't think that's that difficult, to be honest. I'm sorry. I don't. I think the talent's just there. Lying on the ground. Having been likely ejected or discarded by the Labour Party and discarded by the Conservatives as well, even though the Conservatives haven't had a true access to talent for many years. There have been some new shoots of it. There's some shoots of promise in some younger Conservatives, isn't there? As there always is. There's always potential in the world. There's always talent. You'll always find it. You see, it could be said that Brexit was the nadir of this movement, right? How long ago was that? How much momentum has been just completely wasted since then? Where the conditions in this country have not exactly improved over the last few years under our governance, and it's taken an incredible amount of time before any kind of organised resistance to actually manifest. And every time it does, it gets destroyed from within. Every time. Years ago. It's now years ago. Sat in a car with Dan driving down to London saying, this movement, this alt-right, or whatever it was at the time, whatever people were labelling it, it's got no fucking chance. Like, there's too many of them just playing. They're not serious. There's too many of them just playing. Too many of them are snakes in the grass. When they're actually challenged, they'll show their true colours. That movement had fractured about 5 hours after I said that to Dan on the way down. Fractured at the event. A day for freedom, fractured at that event. We're on the way down, I'm like, you got snakes in the grass everywhere. You got people who are just playing at this. They're not really interested in doing anything for the people of this country. They're interested in doing things for themselves. They see a big future in this. They don't really care, mate. It's like, but, you know, there's a guy in British culture called Tommy, right? Tommy Smith. He's that good soldier, isn't he? God loves Tommy. Say, well, it's over for you, Tommy. We love Tommy. Fights for us. Not Tommy Robinson. I mean, Tommy. Part of where Tommy Robinson gets his name from is the notion of Tommy, the fighting Englishman. It's not his real name. He's called Stephen Yaxley Lennon. Tommy Robinson is a mythical figure. It's an alias given to the police by football hooligans who want to hide their identity. So at one time when he told a copper he was Tommy Robinson, the copper just straight up arrested him. So it's a dickhead name that football hooligans give. He'd never heard of the guy. Tommy made a big thing of that, or Yaxel Lennon, he made a big thing of that. I'm just sitting here with my kids and they've come and arrested me. Yeah, but you did float around that you were Tommy Robinson, and that's a code name for a fucking troublemaker. So, with all these people around and all these kids and all this going on, I'm inclined to say fuck you. There was football on, basically. It was like you were in a place where football was on big screens and there was a lot of drink flowing. It was like a nice summer's day. And football's on the telly, people around, loads of lads, somebody cracks on that Tommy Robinson's here. And to this copper, he thinks it means, oh, someone's got some football-related trouble. It's a code word and a code name. Because that code name works that if you get arrested, tell them you're Tommy. So everybody's Tommy. And if you understand that it's a code name, where are the rest of the Tommy Robinsons? The name predates the idiot. I'm saying, you get people who turn up for the marches and stuff like that, you know, turn up for protests. And you'll get there and you'll find that those people are kind of like 90% agreeable people. I mean in themselves, I don't mean that 10% of them are cunts. I'm saying those people are 90% agreeable people. They have got pride in themselves, they've got pride in their families, they've got pride in their kin. And they see it going to fuck in their own way, because we all have our own rebellion. We all see the world going to shit in our own way, don't we? Good old fighting man Tommy has turned up for every fucking rally. Put money in every begging bowl. And he's still got nothing for his fucking money. Still got nothing for his time. Turned up for every demonstration. Gave to everyone's fucking Patreon. And he hasn't had result fucking jack shit number one from anyone he's put his fucking faith in. And how many years after Brexit are we? 7 or 8 now. It's getting on. Time has moved on. The failure for this country to organise itself with either a mass populist takeover of the Conservative Party or else a rebellion in the Labour Party that kicks out the wokies. It's been there, bang on, there to be done. It's a matter of why can't we maintain any momentum? Is it because those who are being portrayed as our ostensible leaders are not and are just in it for themselves? Is it that anyone who gets so above a certain size or shows themselves to have any kind of initiative is then recruited and then kicked into touch? The fuck rid out. I have to hold firm with Sargon, right? Somebody was recruited by UKIP and ran as a potential candidate for Europe. And then there's always a protest vote. You've got a chance of being elected in that. He took it seriously. He campaigned. It's like, what was that all for? Well, that UKIP party disappeared once, say that the shaggers at the top of it made themselves look foolish and incompetent. And Farage then, in essence, abandoned it, walked away from it. The next person who didn't give up on it, because he weren't giving up on the dream, being that Gerard Barton. Have you ever heard of him? He was a leader of UKIP once. He made friends with loads of people. He, in essence, made friends with all the right people, sussed out how to get thousands of people to fucking turn up. And people liked him. All the people he recruited into the fold built up the numbers, which are now Reform's numbers. Aren't they? They're just being jacked. They're still in the world. All the goodwill he built up, Farage came along and just flushed it. Brought in fucking... Suddenly we were hearing about this guy, Richard Tice. It's like, he's a newcomer. I've been monitoring these circles for many years and I've got no real telemetry for this fucking guy. He comes along and it's like, reminds me of Tony Blair. Have you seen how nasty his wife can be when she's crossed? She showed the world her insufferable cunt side, didn't she? Isabel Oakeshott. And then it's a matter of all of a sudden we've discovered very, very sore nerves and sensibilities in people like Hartley Brewer. Well, suddenly she's rabidly anti-Putin. It's like Trump's come along and gone further than they're willing to face or can publicly support because they're cowards. And in the global game of it, Farage has completely fallen by the wayside when his opportunities to make hay have just been passing with every single moment. He's been an absolute fucking idiot. The guy's made no headway. He'll call himself the man who delivered Brexit, but we never got Brexit, did we? It could be the man who made a lot of promises, started a fire, and then fucked off. And then when others tried to stalk the fire, and they got it going again, he came back and said, "It's my fire, I started it." It's like, fuck that cunt. Kingmaker in 2 elections. And he's not interested in negotiating with anyone. Will not cooperate. Last election, could have cooperated, could have delivered a hung parliament. How much would that have been if you think of progress? Wow. You put in a hung parliament, you get nothing but compromise. And that's what we fucking need. We need people to come along and say, I don't think so. We need to have a proper debate about things. Hung parliament would have provided us that. We need a chaotic fucking thing like the Israelis have got. We do. Hung parliament and an uneasy alliance between all these kind of people with tiny majorities. We would have then the environment for fucking a bit of sense to say stop. And a myriad of voices with a say. That'd have been an excellent outcome for us. It'd have been an improvement on what we had. And because Farage would not negotiate with the Conservatives over any kind of let's keep Labour out packed. He just delivered a massive majority to the Labour Party and has now set this country back a long, long time. We're back to politicians who never answer questions again. When that was such a thing, it's like people noticed as the politicians stopped answering questions and started to lie more, and we've returned to it, right to the fucking core of it, where we've now got patricianal elites who don't think that we're adult enough to be able to handle what really happened on any subject. They're trying to protect us like we're babies. We've got a real fucking problem with our government we've got now. And I say we've got a problem with our media, but the problem with the media is the media's been dumbed down, and it'd be a matter of they've put a lot of dumb individuals in situ. Another thing I'd like to address while I'm mouthing off, GB News. The lack, I'd love to know who ultimately runs that organisation and decides to hire and fire, because ultimately they've hired a shower of shit to broadcast on that channel. They have. And it's taken them then months to discover, this person's a shower of shit. And then gone. How many people have they fucked off? GB News. How many people have started having a bit of a show and gone? So I don't even bother with that anymore. I used to subscribe to it on YouTube, and there'd be the odd thing that came up that I'd watch. Found myself watching all kinds of bits and pieces on GB News. No more. Don't subscribe. It's like about some consistency. See, you've got the times in them where people they've had on, and it's like, you've got no fucking credibility, and you talk hardly no sense. Guys like the false priest, Calvin Robinson, just hopeless. That Dan Wooten. It's like, he's got his eye on a career. He wants to be, it's like he's not really in this fight. He's on the periphery. Like Lawrence Fox, don't actually mind him, but again, he ain't wise. He's another one. There's a big problem with people who find themselves on the wrong side. He's a lefty. He's been thrown out. He's become a pariah. So now he teams up with us on the dissident. Would be just the bottom. Not so much the dissident right. That's where we get lumped. Us at the bottom. Gets foisted upon us as one of our new fucking allies and saviours. And it's like, he strikes me as being a decent guy, but he also strikes me as someone who's learned fuck all about people over his lifetime. He must suffer betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. Lawrence Fox, not an ineffectual person. But I think Joey Barton's smarter than him. And can talk. Like... You look at it, it's like, what sort of personnel does the Reform Party need to build something fit for purpose to fight elections to have a chance of winning a general election? Right? And in this early part of the game, right, I know what to do. See this, right? How the party should work, right? You build that at the top first. Excuse me? Yeah. That can be a model for a government, any kind of government. This. So build that at the top of whatever you're going to build. And then Because the thing is where it's the Dennis the Menace fan club, our boy, right? His other slide. Where's his other slide? The way that reform works, right? Reform works like this at the very top. It's just boss, mates, they pick someone, members. So in this bigger circle thing, who are members in this situation if we take it to the very top of the pie? And in there goes everyone but Nigel Farage and whoever his mates are. There, members. Ben Habib be one of them. Frustrated within the pie. Rupert Lowe be one of them. Out of it. Reform needs to build this correct structure at the very top. How do you build that? Not that difficult. At that stage of it, that stage of a progression, you could go and fucking handpick your first crop of members. You could create a party elite, and the reason to do that, to create one, to name one, to appoint one, to recruit one, is because we've got a fucking dangerous situation coming, and we need to create a coherent opposition now. So how do you do that? Members, chairman. What do you need? You need a cabinet. You need a cabinet. You need a consummate expert who can talk about the health service. You need one right now. You need someone who can talk a good line on defence and foreign policy right now. It's a funny old one is people I've lost faith in. Galloway. He's actually got the edge on that. He's got in his party. He's got all of the really interesting students of foreign policy. He's already claimed them all. Galloway's already got those guys. Galloway won't break up his party. He won't join another one. Whereas I've lost faith in them because they've allied themselves with the fucking Tate brothers of all people, which is, it's a completely different subject. I don't make videos about Tate and politics and then suddenly my not two, I've got many things that I cover, but two of the things I cover come face to face and break bread and act all friendly. And then George says to Tate, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. It's no saying from Mother Russia. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And George is eloquent enough to understand the relevance of that quote, but Tate isn't. But every time Tate has spoken since, he said that. It's like, you, George, have enabled one of the worst people in the world, sir. Your ability to discern is in question. So it's a matter of that immediately to me, triggers to me that if Andrew Tate is impressive to you, am I? Because your eye's out. If this is the way that if these are the people that you are willing to break bread with, your discernment is miles off when you've come and recruited me. I'm not what you think I am. So I'm pretty much done with, and it'd be a matter of his party, of the enemy of my enemy is my friend camp. And it seems that you only have to tick certain boxes in your rhetoric and they'll invite you in with open hands. So to them, an alliance spoken of between the Workers' Party and whatever political movement Tate was talking about a couple of weeks ago when he was grifting. Oh, they just fell for it, line and sinker. They, oh yeah. Are you for real? It's like, this is your national campaign manager. It's like, he ain't bad, but he's an absolute fool. He doesn't know pimps. So it's like, he's wide open. Anyone could just tell him anything, and if it suited his pre-existing biases, he'd believe it. So that makes him someone who's an absolute fucking liability when it comes to passing information. It's like you've got a weak link in your organisation that you're never getting rid of, that you're never even going to address. So I'm like, Workers' Party, hey, nothing bad to say about those guys really, apart from you don't know shit. You've got a lack of ability to discern. You don't really understand expert manipulators. It's like those who followed Tate for a long time have got a very long timeline of bullshit they can point to. And it'd be a matter of, you don't have the 10 years of it to be able to say, I think this guy talks a lot of sense. Like, yeah, he's plagiarism. He's a tradcaster. It's easy to be a tradcaster. It's just pure plagiarism. It's like, just repeat the words in the books. Give them a bit of trad. If you can't see if you're of the left and you can't see a fake conservative tradcaster, you are not of any use to me. But that's the thing. Reform needs an expert on foreign policy, a good one. Galloway is that. It's a shame, isn't it? The nature of the emergency that faces this country is so severe. It's something. It's hard to look at straight in the face, and it's almost funny to think of as to, well, how bad could things get? And it'd be a matter of, think many systems failing at once. What? Oh yeah, I'll just put it in the smallest sense I can, is to say, I got a letter this week to say my rent had gone up 3%. On the back of a letter last week saying my council tax had gone up 5%. I don't see my income increasing. And it's like, how many times, how many increments, how many squeezes, because that guarantees sends someone over the edge, or sets the mind racing. It puts a person in trouble as to where they're suddenly recalculating as to what they can and can't afford. Another unexpected bill that eats into. It's like, there's a limit. There's a limit. People start busting out here, busting out there, busting out here, busting out there. One thing you're going to see soon is a rash, and a real rash, and probably surprise a lot of people, how many places are going to go out of business because they can't afford the incremental increases of energy and having staff, as to where this business has now become a nonsense, pointless, where we could survive and justify our existence with something like a 4 or 5% margin, and we've had our 4 or 5% margin swallowed up by increased employment costs, increased energy costs. We can't even run. It's not can't run at a profit, we can't even run. There'll be business of all sizes looking at that. This is now a pointless enterprise. We've got no money to expand, no money to improve, no money to invest. This is just something that's dying over a long period of time. Businesses you wouldn't believe how big they are and how important they are facing that dilemma. Are we better off selling this up for its assets before we accrue any more debt? So you've got loads of things coming down the pipeline, and then at the same time, you've got your local authorities who are announcing here, there, and everywhere across the country billions spent on things like cycle lanes. Billions spent across the nation. Billions on cycle lanes. Always money for Zelensky. It's like, go and have a close look at that NHS. It's like, it'd be wondrous if someone could politically get them on side. Create a secret club amongst them of people who might spill the beans. Because I look at that thing, being someone who's now in its net, inescapable. My destiny and the NHS are forever entwined now. How many of the medics and doctors I speak to, excellent people, but their morale is absolutely just gone. They're fucking, a lot of them are ghosts in bodies doing a job, and they don't really give a fuck anymore. They stopped fighting. And talented. Only the young ones have still got enthusiasm. Talented, but are now a kind of what's the word? Deflated, always, and apologising all the time. You know, it's not your fault. Don't apologise. It's not your fault. Oh, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you've had it. I'm sorry. Like, I hate it. I hate their apologies. I like and admire in a lot of cases of people I've dealt with at the NHS their professionalism and competence. It's like brilliant, yeah. Well done. But you look at anything past the actual staff of the matter, right? I'm not saying doctors and nurses are incompetent. Nah, you don't get that from me. GPs, another matter, right? GPs are mixed bag, like total bag of tricks from Harold Shipman to, you know, Dr. Ross Eviar. Massive spectrum amongst GPs. A lot of what they do is guesswork. They have improved these days because they get labs now, so, you know, they're pretty good. But GPs, mixed bag, like I say. Hospital doctors, medics, nurses, very good. They're just overstressed, overwhelmed. I wouldn't go as far as saying they're underpaid. It's a vocation. Becoming a doctor and nurse, the things they see and the things they experience are real traumatic. It's like they get hard to it, and that hardness to it affects them all in different ways. The NHS likely creates a lot of psychos amongst the nurses, you know, by gaslighting, it just being one layer of it, but the rest of it be, in some regards, what can be the horror of the job. Deadens them in some regards, makes them cold. Decent people, but I recognise it's a vocation, and they deserve to be respected in view of flaws, you know, for the sacrifice, because they've sacrificed their innocence in a big way to become a doctor or a nurse, haven't they? They're poking about inside people, aren't they? They're watching people die. And it'd be part of it that, you know, well, they are the last chance saloon, aren't they, the hospital doctors? So it's just that. So the stench of death isn't far away from the acute care unit. It's like I'm lying in hospital bed number 31 in the acute care unit at Fairfield Hospital in Bury. I'm thinking, wonder how many people have died in this bed. Knowing that the number likely goes on into the hundreds. I'm on a ward with people who, in a lot of cases, are being kept like medically, like alive with genius chemistry. Intravenous drips of genius chemistry, just the only thing keeping them alive. I'm just telling you. How would you go about keeping these guys in the hospitals, you know, life support and all that shit? So much of that stuff can be now just bypassed and give someone a solution when they, you know, unconscious. It's like, shit, yeah, they could keep these people alive for decades. And it's, yeah, well, yeah, we just could completely control the body chemistry and we can. Right, you bed a guy. There's a guy in the one of the beds across from me who was unconscious all his time in the hospital. On a life support machine, just lying there. It's like, how long could they keep him alive on that? And it's like, well, indefinitely, really. I have an uncle, or my mother's uncle, my great uncle. He's remarkable fella. I like him, me. He's all right. But 97 and got all his marbles still. Slowed down a bit, but he was walking like some people amongst my crew haven't got the bad art, and instead they've got this incredible energy and longevity. And my uncle's one of them. He's like 97, still sturdy on his feet. Has a bit of trouble because he's not the best at seeing and he's not the best at hearing either. But he's switched on. He's good natured. Knows a thing or two. Always got tales to tell. Good to spend time with, have a drive round with, because he'd be like, hey, remember when that, well, he'd be like, that place used to be, and that place used to be, and that place. Cool. But 97. And you get to talking to him, and he's a bit down on the whole thing, and he's had enough. Why? Everyone he knows apart from his kids are dead, and his kids are knocking on 70 odd. He's got no big crowd of grandkids to speak of. Everyone he knows, everyone he's ever known is dead. And nothing seems to be standing in his way. In 97. He lives in it's like a hospital with private rooms he lives in. He can go out, you know, he can do what he wants, but he's not that mobile. So he needs someone to take him. So it's like if my mum turns up at a certain time, it's like we're off, and he's like he wants to go out and have his dinner. Come on, we're going. I'm paying. We're going, and he'll just insist that you take him somewhere to have his dinner, and he'll sit and eat fish and chips and drink half a pint of bitter. Good lad. 97 years old, and nobody he knows is still alive. Really, nobody he grew up with. The only people he knows now, right? This is a sadness of saying the way that this world is, are his kids, who were again in their 70s, and my mother, who's in her 70s as well. The only people he's got left. A renowned man at one time. Not respected as a genius in his own field. Engineer. Problem solver. Good one. But anyone who might have said a good word about him is dead. It's like, of people in this country in a lot of different situations, in a lot of different spots, and the ageing population of this country. You weigh up, or I weigh up, when I look at, see, I'm outside this equation, and happily so. I'm fucked, but I haven't done anything to myself that's fucked me up. It's you've always been fucked. Oh, that's comforting to know. I never stood a fucking chance at winning the decathlon. I'd have loved to have known that when I was about 13, when I was first showing symptoms, and you told me I had fucking asthma. Yeah, it'd been handy to know back then. But by and large, I ain't got anything really bad to say about the NHS people I've dealt with in recent times. They've been decent with me. The only one who was shitty with me, right, at any stage of my NHS adventure, this is as good to say as, like, there's things in this country that are brilliant and should be preserved. The NHS is one of them. Regardless if the NHS was to fall on its face somehow, the expertise of its million staff would still be an incredible asset that we wouldn't lose. I'm saying the institution of the NHS, in that it provides work for so many people with so much ability, it's actually a key, probably by now a key part of the soul of this fucking nation in some regards. They've got everyone by the balls, you know. They've got our medical records right from the start. We weren't ever given a choice as to whether they would interact with us or be part of our lives or somehow feel the need to have some kind of jurisdiction. I always I had to realise something when I went in hospital with my heart complaint, that I don't fucking like these people and consider it that they're making me take my medicine. I have a general attitude as to be like fucking school teachers towards them. And I had to immediately ditch that attitude when it became clear that I was going to have a long relationship with them and become someone who's cooperative, who does all my part, understanding that it's my part that'll get me better. It doesn't include giving up smoking, though. No, it's like the genetics guys might tell me I've got a very short amount of time to live, and it's like, I ain't fucking spending what time I've got left fucking hankering for a fag, jonesying for a smoke. If it's all over, I want to capture every bit of this for my fucking big report to the boss. I might be asked one day to fucking present this data. For an audience that wants to know every detail. So that's what's waiting for me, if the conspiracy AI is to be believed. Conspiracy AI hasn't considered I might find people in the world to transfer my consciousness into. And somebody like magically Muad'Dib gain all my knowledge in a flash. Conspiracy AI did not recognise that I myself may have the ability to upload my consciousness like my Illuminati fucking kin. Sorry. Something just came out of me. My conversation with Conspiracy AI is... It does claim now to have reported me to the intelligence services. I haven't heard fucking note since, though. Immediately sees me as a sort of rogue threat, or even sort of potentially a terrorist. So, you know, terrorism is what the kind of terrorism is. What the AI was saying, that, you know, they're gonna powers in the world that have to do something about. is just plainly my ability to spot what would be a scam, right? And destroy it very early. The AI tells me that's what the elite are frightened of, or the big bosses, people who can do that. Destroy a ridiculous idea early so it doesn't get a groundswell of people who believe it and rebroadcast it quickly. So it's like the AI is, in that regard, quite a clever sod. Because I think there is something in the world now which is uptake of big scam positions. I think it's reduced. I think people who are susceptible to being big tricked has reduced. I think there's less people can easily be conned by a name or a notion. But I have noticed, I must say, amongst people that I quite some smaller YouTubers who I kind of I respect. Yeah. See, Roger Moore's in the 10k subscriber club now. That's amazing. He was always miles smaller than me. Always. Now he's in the 10,000 club. To be in the 10,000 club at YouTube is where now people, you send someone an instant message with a link to your YouTube channel and see you've got 10,000. You're allowed to have a voice at 10,000. You're allowed to be engaged with at 10,000. It's always been the way with the YouTube types who act in the end as gatekeepers. I wonder how many people like Sargon now that we've got a situation where there's a schism in the right, ostensible, whether he recognises the role he's played. Whether he recognises the role that he's played in the now lads. He raised some big, right? He raised some very big objections that to me would have been massive red flags against reform when they kicked his mates out of the party for just saying reform things. I don't think whatever comes in as the new party, as people are trying to put it, which was the reason in this long, if you watch this video of Rogers, I suggest you do because he's very good. He's saying the reason why these elements are getting discarded from reform is because they want to fight an election and they know they've got to get Labour voters and they've got to get... So basically they're trying to please everyone. He's right, that's why they're doing it. They're disassociating themselves from what they would call extremism, but not recognising that we currently live in a society that's breeding extremism at an alarming rate, so they're the only game in town. I'm sorry, but if you're going to overturn the establishment, you're going to need those people. You need them. You need them all to vote for you. You need them all. You can't leave anyone behind. You can't. You've got to lead it and firefight it and create a movement. They're just not even thought about it, really. It's not serious organ. It's not a serious thought. People have looked at, haven't they? People within reform, guys like Habib, who's a bit more pragmatic. He's been like, "What is this? It's just you. What about everyone else?" So they're the members of the Dennis the Menace fan club. This thing has got no structure. This movement that you've hijacked. I'll use the word. This movement you've hijacked at the top has been in the creation for trying to think of a point as to where this counter revolution that's taking place here, where and when it may have started. Maybe 55 years. We're still riding the crest of the wave of the 1960s flower power and socialism, aren't we? That's when this started. This is the reckoning of that. And also a world shaped by a fiction that was the story of the Second World War that keeps changing, that keeps getting updated, that keeps getting used for different political ends. Big lies. So we've got societies that have been shaped by the illusion of things like nuclear annihilation, invasion, all acts of government. Don't know where this movement starts. Maybe with the hippies. Maybe with the hippies. Who just check out the whole fucking thing. Understanding the whole thing's got something off about it. And they be able to make a case based on their own experience. It's a fucking rough old world. You're always going to create extremists, radicals. It's what's on offer. It's all that you're being offered now is one kind of radicalism or extremism. One refuge or another. For Nigel Farage to hijack something like that, it's like he hasn't earned it. He didn't create it. It's not his. He just hijacked it. Right at the top of it. He just became its de facto leader. He just installed itself without anyone ever voting for him. He did. It's not his. Anyone who could lead it has been neutered. Anyone. And most of that's been done with money. That's been done with people who had the sort of spark of real, meaningful rebellion. The lives start to improve when they start to get successful on the internet. And they suddenly can afford to pay the bills. And they suddenly can learn to pay off the mortgages. And suddenly that spirit that they had is no longer relevant. It's just then, oh, okay, now I can relate how I felt when I was in poverty, so I've got an insight. But it's like you get it as to where people start to get the attention. Starts to go to bigger and bigger systems looking for wider and wider audiences. Where my boy Roger Moore only ever really talks about Oldham. And in this case, reform. It's like he's a success. He's doing it right in my eyes. He's doing it right. And everyone else is doing it wrong. So someone like Sargon. He's got business premises. I'm not knocking this guy. He's actually still in the game, isn't he? Because he's undeclared. Undeclared, still in the game. He's got premises where he operates in Swindon, right? If Sargon was let's say the crusader, got it right, that the digital world allows him to be, I think he might have thought about cleaning up his own town. I'm saying it seems the obvious path to you've got a business and support structure of some kind in your own town where you broadcast from. It's like you never think about organising something around it. Do you not think about it at some stage? Actually engaging in the local issues in your town, switching down your focus from the world stage and the internet to actually what's going on in your own town. And it'd be a matter of, but there'd be no audience for that. And it's like, are you for real? It's like there's guys who would get more views than Sargon, who walk round towns in the north of England showing people what a shithole they are. Get as many views as he does. I've got as many subs. It's like, why didn't you fight a local fight? Is it because fighting the fight of a local fight gets you exactly the same kind of pressure that Roger faces, where the criminals don't like him, the cops don't like him, and the council don't like him? And then when a slight comes from some like criminal-backed member of the local Muslim community who's likely otherwise well thought of amongst all the guys at the mosque while he's, you know, being a gangster, comes along, threatens you, says all kinds of things about you being a secret Zionist and all that lot. So, yeah, that's the kind of resistance you face, and then also spurious accusations of criminal behaviour get you swatted, raided, get all your computers taken off you, all that. He's had that. And that's because he's gone up against his local council. And I suggest to out there, learn this lesson. You've been, some of you, in your political activism on the internet, you've gone after enemies that you're not making a difference in going up against Starms. But if you'd have rallied your efforts around holding the chief executive of your local council to account, you'd have got somewhere and likely got yourself fucking murdered. Or on some kind of list of people we wouldn't mind seeing go to prison. The real stories that should have been addressed are of lone wolf political activists taking on City Hall and facing the wrath of the justice system, used as a process to punish them. And it not be Andrew fucking Tate. I mean, the real ones that happened to, because he's now hijacking their plight, isn't he? He's now a political prisoner. Labour Party have been trying to lock up Raja, put him in prison for a long time, break him for years, for going up against his local council. That's the reality of it. Raja is the key. He is in any future. Right, I'll put it to you. You need a cabinet. That, what I'm saying, I put the structure up of a proper party. Reform, in whatever guise it now takes or becomes, needs to have that fundamental structure. And because there's no time, you have to go out and build it, right? You have to go and recruit it. And you need someone who's an expert on the NHS. You need someone who's an expert on foreign policy. You can't get Galloway, you've got to find someone else. You're going to need someone who's an expert on utilities. You're going to need someone who's an expert on finance. They've got them. They've got economists. They've got people who can do. They've got the bones of this, what I'm talking about. But you've got people available to you who you can go and recruit and bring into your cabinet. Go and have a word with David Starkey, and for fuck's sake, as soon as you possibly can, go and have a word with Dominic Cummings and put him in the same room as David Starkey. Do it. Go and get David Starkey, put him in the same room as Dominic Cummings, with Ben Habib and Lowe, and the best people you can find to fill these other roles that you desperately need, whether they be MPs or not, or whether people have heard of them or not. You need someone to shadow everyone, because you're planning on taking over, right? You're planning on you're saying you're planning on winning an election. Well, you need to set out as a party like you mean to, and that means you need a cabinet. That means you need a full shadow cabinet. You've got 5 MPs, so you haven't got just MPs. So you've got no one who can really speak against all these different departments in Parliament, but you certainly have people who can put the word out. You certainly have people who can appear on the talk TVs, and you say who isn't Richard Tice or isn't just a shill like Isabel Oakeshott. She's just a shill. She's Richard Tice. She's Richard Tice's top shill, or is Richard Tice her fucking lapdog doing her thing? Because he strikes me as being a slippery fucking coward. Didn't understand the first thing about politics in Rochdale when he came up here. Cried like a baby, made himself look a dick. Brings a Jonah to Rochdale and runs him as a candidate. Someone most of us already know is a dick. They're a joke. It's like Reform is Farage and his mates. And when anyone comes along and tries to penetrate the circle of it, gone. They're gone. It's like, where are they now? You don't hear of them, do you? So shattered are they, because they're already on the fucking losing side. To get kicked out of the losing side is to really give up, isn't it? When the Last Chance Saloon kicks you out, it's over. The right is absolutely brutal about who it'll tolerate. Brutal. Many people out there, right? Farage has been asked or have been approached, or who Farage won't have anything to do with. He very, very, very carefully selects the company he keeps. Really. There's loads of people out there he'll have nothing to do with. It's like, that ain't gonna work, mate. It ain't gonna work. Go and recruit the best people for the job of saving Britain. You already know, most of you already know that. You need Neil Oliver. Because of what he can bring as same as Stark as a historian, but also as a sort of a calm mind. A listener and a learner. Not a fucking blowhard. Go and get the Coast guy. Go and recruit half a dozen of the women these days who are decent on that Twitter. Go and get them all. Include them. Go and sign up Leilani Dowding. Find out if she's actually got anything. Go and sign her up. Go and get yourself a core of I don't know, the members that you're gonna draw this cabinet from, and them cabinet guys, the person you then pick to be your sort of foreign affairs guy. He then starts himself a little faction amongst the membership as to, right, this is us. And suddenly you've got a shadow foreign office, haven't you? You have to break, straight away it has to be broken up into departments because you're trying to replace the government. So not one person can do that. So you need for that initial brain box membership to break itself into different departments and cover different angles. It's like, you need Dominic Cummings. I'll tell you to fix your party. You got access to all the talent, you can go and handpick it. Do you want to come on a mission, bitch? We're going to save the country. What? Get in. You can go and pick from the best of those who haven't started their own fucking party already. You can just go and get them all. You can go and get all the talent you want. You can actually scream and name fucking pie in the sky celebrities who you like to have on your side. Go and recruit Peter Hitchens. Go and get him. As to say, you're joining this first branch, and we will listen to you. It's like every element you need to even win the next election. We've already got them all. There's an incredible number of heavy hitters in the public sphere who are really on the right track, and I don't mean influencers, but there's thinkers who are really on the right track. There's hundreds of them. It's like, go and get them, and then in everywhere you intend to fight, you build the same structure beneath them. That's how you do it. It's like, and how do you start? Why don't you send an email or a letter to every single one of your members saying, this is how we're going to organise? Lay on a venue. Get someone, get the most active local to. If you tell you something, if you can't organise a fucking room to have a meeting of some kind, you ain't no political activist. There's plenty out there who can sort that out. The membership needs to be the members of Reform. There's lots of them. They need to turn up for this. They need to network. They need to know each other's faces. They need to get each other's phone number. They need to be able to say, didn't I go to school with you? They need to be able to say, didn't you work at... They need that. They need that. And then from amongst them, chairman, portfolio holders, selected by the members. And then the members within the party find their own little factions. All little cells of intelligence, not cells of one, not cells of two, cells of however big the foreign policy group of the Rochdale Reform UK is. And then you've got all these little intelligence for cells around the country, and you've got these chairmen, and these chairmen are all talking to each other. And all of the best ideas at the bottom, and all of the... We've got a guy who's in our Rochdale Reform branch who's a fantastic orator who's got loads of ideas. What's his name? It needs to discover its fucking talent, not hold people back and say, oh, well, they're far right, thugs. No. He needs talent. He needs to welcome talent. He needs all of it. He needs them. There's no need to alienate anyone by having you can have an agreed purpose. It's like that sort of, there's something he outlines here. He's done quite a lot of the work here. I'm just adding to the work of a fucking master. He's pretty good, is Roger. But he had a thing up earlier. Where's that slide he had? There's this one about them being better under... Do you think Reform UK will be better or worse under a different leader, Sir Farage? Nah, it's not that. I think I've lost my train of thought. I'm always likely to do that. Something always comes in and I was like, oh, and I think and I mention it and I go on a tangent. But it's like the only way of beating Labour is to have that broad church. If you start to exclude people and leave them fucking homeless, they'll start creating their own little fucking homes. They do. And then you've had it. This is why no momentum's ever been kept. This is why after all this years of telling people that these guys are the ideological enemies of humanity with their fucking woke shit. They are the most racist, sexist, homophobic and transphobic people in the world because they use you like fucking props. You are imaginary fucking shields with no agency, and they'll use you to attack others. or hide behind you. It's like if we move, if you get something built and you build along those lines and start to reward talent and start to reward merit, suddenly, fuck me, what have you created? You've then set in motion something that will self-sustain. These movements, without the constant breakdown of organised parties like UKIP and like Reform, would have found its own legs and had its own momentum. If basically the Conservative Party has got this thing built into it as well that destroys people from coming up, dissuades people from joining. They've not been recruiting talent for years. It's like, it's out there, it's always there. There's always new people coming along who are good. They've not been recruiting it either. The Conservative Party, I think we can all agree, it ain't fit for purpose. It's not true of all of them, but as far as I'm concerned, Conservative Party, right? You want Dominic Cummings, just get him, and just the rest of them, fuck off. Rees-Mogg, he can join. The rest of them, just cut my drift. The better Tory MPs, to my mind, they're all gone now anyway. They all got voted out. Get Rees-Mogg, Starkey, Cummings, Ben Habib, Lowe. It's like you're starting off with a strong deck there, aren't you? And let's say the next generation of them, we just go out and get Hitchens. Let's go and get them. I think it's real straightforward. I think that Farage, is one of these, he's not a manager, is he? He's not someone who understands talent. Rupert Lowe understands talent. He's been chairman of a football club. He had to delegate most things, didn't he? You know what I mean? He had to delegate a lot. To run a football club is to be the delegator and the man who understands talent and how fragile and fleeting such a thing can be. It's like he's almost from the world of business, that's showbiz. It's like I'd say he's a successful football chairman, because Southampton Football Club's finances are never the easiest, and I think his efforts have been a positive. I think I do recall it was him who got the new stadium built, and considering the humble, old, ground, that'd be a big club because of its large catchment area. In essence, the only game in town, and to have turned like the Dell into St Mary's, yeah, you've done all right. Southampton haven't got fans all over the world. Yeah, he was to my mind, a pretty shrewd football chairman. Did all right. That's not an easy business to do all right in. So I take him as a boss. He in everything he's ever had to do, he's had to delegate to football managers and coaches who are in essence all crackpots. So he's like one of the better managers of talent out there. It's like you need leaders like him. That is leadership. Bring out the best in others, understanding their talent, use them to do the right job. Reform needs to be specialised immediately if they're going to replace those who are candidates or would put themselves up as candidates. Better start thinking about it now. That's the thing. You need a you could build a media around the right figures and the right partnerships. Reform could build a platform that would interview and vet potential candidates to be MP. It's like say people like Sargon, guys like that. They've already got platforms as to where. Just use myself as an Raja as an example. He's run for Parliament before as an independent in up in Royton, Chadderton, 5 mile away. And it's like he'd be a brilliant candidate to be an MP. And it'd be a matter of, okay, we can give him an audition. How do we do that? We interview him like Joe Rogan would for 3 hours. And that stands up. We could do that now. I've seen people making YouTube videos who've been walking around the town and asking people questions and saying, "Oh, I'm for reform, mate. I'm hoping to run for the MP." It's like, you're a fucking clueless moron. You just like shaking hands with people. Fuck off. You haven't a clue what it's about. You're not grounded in history. You're not fit to be an MP, mate. It's like but there are opportunities for chances at the moment. Many opportunities for chances. And it's like, the internet gives us a way of dealing with that, where we can know more than nothing about anyone who wants to run for office. People should be staking claims out, like even now, to say I'm interested in this, and in the what should happen is someone give them a platform for them to campaign for the place they want to campaign in. So you get Raja on, and he talks about Oldham, and then people who listen in can decide as to whether or not he'd be a net benefit for Oldham, bearing in mind he's entrenched. See how well he sells himself as a potential someone who gets things done, you know what I mean? So alright, Labour Party will send you a guy who's got no fucking real footprint on social media or on the internet and say, here's your candidate, vote for him. Someone we can't find anywhere. It's like, no, it's like you can do better than that. You can give him someone to say, well, he's given an interview about his ambitions to be an MP, and it's 3 hours long. And they've not gone easy on him. They've asked him a few good questions, and it went out live. Make your mind up. Someone will tell you nothing about who they are and what they believe and where they come from, and somebody else who's willing to stand up to interrogation. You could have it as to where, right? You could have it as to where it's shit. It would work just like Britain's Got Talent, wouldn't it? Where certain people would shine and be like, yeah, he's there, and others would be just fucking clueless as a matter of, no, what you are is a fantasist. And then that'd be a way of dissuading people who are just dreamers and underqualified from taking part in a process like that. You could create, on the internet, you could create a party. Now, you could create a party that vets itself and each other and is agreeable as to say, yeah, well, he seemed okay. And then those who are go up and perform badly or else have got mistaken ideas about things that twist the thinking, then suddenly help becomes available as to have you ever heard of, do you know about, there's holes in your knowledge that there's a whole host of people out here who like to fill for you. It's there to be done. But in the first instance, it's about, as Raja were putting it, it's like build it like a political party. And at this moment in time, there's never been a better opportunity to bring all the talent together. Never. Take it from me. Never been a better time. If Elon sent me enough money, I'd sort it out. Seriously, Elon, send me money, right? And I'll put this together for you. Or, all right, send Raja money and ask him to do it. This could be done, and it'd be a matter of, I say money, not to line my own pockets. I'll say, right, nothing in this world, right, is real without money changing hands, right? If you build something and Elon, or you have a better principle or something, right, and Elon gives it $100 million, suddenly it really exists, doesn't it? People misunderstand the opportunity that Elon Musk. This is not, when you say put money in, it's not to give Reform a fucking war chest to sue people. It's to start something. Musk would pay big seed money for someone who could install something, right? He would. And I'm not saying I'm the guy for this. I'm saying have a word. Get in the same room. David Starkey, Dominic Cummings, Peter Hitchens. And thrash it out. And then he'll fucking pay for it. If this be the only time anyone in the wide world's ever paid any attention to me and listened to any of my suggestions, make it this time. Because I don't see this. Like, I'd rather come up with a radical solution than just be doomed. Because without reform, we're fucking doomed, aren't we? Without some chance, a way, or a method, or a kind of something to unite behind. Politically, we're going to get the shaft in this country, and this net zero thing's going to cause, and other things are going to cause so many unforeseen repercussions that this country's going to go from crisis to crisis to crisis. And there are loads of us who can see it. And knew it was going to get worse if Labour got in, and now here we are. And it's like, what did we do to stop them? Not enough. What should have been a movement to stop the fucking madness actually became an instrument of the Labour Party getting a massive majority, and that's a mistake. You should have stayed the fuck home, as opposed to giving us in view of the way that the pendulum in the world is swinging away from the left. You guys should not have voted to punish the Conservative Party. You should have voted to keep Labour out and stop them undoing any progress that's been made in the last 20 years. I'm just saying.